So are you having a hard time deciding if you want to take lucky or musician? Well, you're in luck. Because behind today's secret door, lucky versus musician. So behind today's secret door, lucky versus musician. This is Secret Door, a channel devoted to in-depth discussion about Dungeons and Dragons, and my name is Matt Morich. I have started a Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the channel, your help would be greatly appreciated and much needed. The link will be in the pinned comment and in the description. And many thanks to Marcelo, Doug, and Jamie for your support. All right, a test drive is on its way. I promise it'll probably come out next week. We will see. But this video is coming basically because of a short that I did about Tough earlier this week. And I had various people where I mentioned Lucky and Alert as being the two best origin feats, which I believe they are. And people seemed to think that Musician was by far the greater feat. I think I can walk you through my thinking here. And this video is important because we have a new rule set. This is a new rule set that I personally have only had my hands on for a little over a month. I didn't pay any attention to the playtest. I don't watch anybody else's videos. So I am absorbing the rules as I absorb them. And so are a lot of you, although a lot of you are watching YouTube videos and whatever, and that's great. But the point is that everybody is making mistakes. I made a mistake. I was doing a video about warlocks, and I missed that in Armor of Agathis, they had deleted the word these in the description, and that changed how that spell plays. So I can miss things, people miss things. So I felt it was important to do this video because if I am going to be including Lucky in an origin feat for future videos, for a test drive or whatever, I don't want to have to make this argument over and over and over again. When somebody comes into the comments and they think Musician is the greatest feat and they tell me that and they want to argue about it or whatever, I don't want to keep arguing about this. And also I don't want you guys to be making mistakes. Not that Musician is a mistake, it isn't, but that you are thinking that it is the best, and I can prove to you in this video that it isn't. It's a very good feat. It is not definitively the greatest origin feat. It is a very good feat. I'm going to walk through everything, the pluses and the minuses, and I think you'll see why I think that. At least I hope so. Fortunately, what I'm going to show you goes a little bit now beyond just my personal preference or opinion. I can kind of show you in leveraged situations how Lucky is better to have or to pick as an origin feat than Musician, because that's the key here, right? What are you going to take when you're making your character? To think that Musician is the greatest feat of all time, or the greatest of all the origin feats, I should say, then it would stand to reason that you should always be considering taking Musician. And I will explain to you why that's not a good idea. So let's address what we're talking about here first, and that is the idea of re-rolling. That's what you're looking for if you're wanting to pick one of these two feats. You want an ability to re-roll. Now, Lucky used to be like that, and it isn't anymore. It's advantage or disadvantage when you spend a luck point, and you get an amount of luck points equal to your proficiency bonus. Musician is granting heroic inspiration. Heroic inspiration is definitively the better rolling mechanic than Lucky. It absolutely is. The problem that Lucky has is it used to be an after-the-fact reroll, and it is no longer. It's simply advantage. But advantage is still really good. So if we're going to grade them, I'm going to say heroic inspiration is an A+ rolling mechanic. It doesn't, There's not a better one that I can think of because it allows you to re-roll any roll. That's fantastic. And you're doing so after the fact that you've rolled. So you've seen if you need to use it and you use it. It is an A+. Having advantage or being able to apply disadvantage when you need it, I'm going to call that a B+ to an A-. That just kind of depends. So it's very strong, but not as strong as Heroic Inspiration. Stipulated. With the Musician feat, you are able to grant a number of allies after any rest, short rest or long rest. You are able to grant a number of allies Heroic Inspiration equal to your proficiency bonus. So here we are. We're going to talk about problem number 1 with Musician. You don't get it. Rule as written, it is your allies. Now, if we were to look at a comparable feat, which would be Inspiring Leader, they're very similar. Inspiring Leader contains language which specifies that you are included. Musician doesn't grant that. Now, there may be a lot of DMs out there that are going to allow that, and that's fine. But that isn't rule as written, and I can't be recommending feats based on a particular singular DM's ruling. Now, it could be that this gets errated, and that's always going to be possible. But with what we have right here and right now, you do not get, strictly speaking, the benefit from Musician. However, there is a very simple mechanic that you could do to get the benefit. So the nature of Heroic Inspiration is this, that when you receive Heroic Inspiration, if you already have one, you can never have more than one. So if you have one and you've just received one from some kind of mechanic, you can give that Heroic Inspiration to another player. So if for some reason you start the day off and you give Heroic Inspiration to a character that already has one, that character could just hand it back to you. So you could benefit, but you have to be able to pull that off. Now that's a real problem. It can be dealt with, but it's not going to easily be dealt with at every single situation, at every single table. If they errata the rule and it will allow you to include yourself, that's a bonus for it. And this is just a small problem that I'm noting here, but I need to be pointing all of these out as compared to Lucky. Lucky doesn't have that problem. In fact, I would say that's what the primary reason from a character building standpoint you would take either of these feats is if you were a caster looking for a way to deal with your concentration saves, because the game is different now. We can't start with Warcaster or Resilient at level 1 being a human or custom lineage. You can't do that anymore. So with the feats that are available to you at level 1, it would make sense for a caster to be picking feats that could help them out in that department. It's a big problem. So now let's talk about short rests. In general, it is considered that you will get 1 short rest a day. That's what you can bank on. That's almost, I'm not going to say the DM has to give it to you, but they almost kind of do. But anything beyond that, you can't count on that. Now, your table may allow 2 or 3 short rests a day, but that isn't the norm. And when evaluating feats, you can't evaluate them just simply by how your DM is running your particular table. So this means because you can only have 1 Heroic Inspiration at a time, that you only have that 1 Heroic Inspiration at a time. Lucky, you're getting your proficiency bonus in luck points available to you from after your long rest forward. Now, that's a significant advantage for Lucky. It's significant because you don't know when you're going to really need to leverage yourself in a position, especially if you're a caster trying to cover for concentration saves. You don't know when those moments are going to really pop up. And if you have to do 2 or 3 of them, assuming you have 3 luck points, then you need them. And that 1 Heroic Inspiration, while it may be like a superior rolling mechanic, you can only have that 1 at a time. And that's a problem. To me, between problem number 1, where you don't benefit, and this, I'm already looking at Lucky and saying, I'm taking Lucky over Musician. To me, that is how I would evaluate it, but I am not even close to done yet. So Heroic Inspiration can be handed off to another player, but it can only do that at the time that you gain the Heroic Inspiration. So if there's player A and player B, and they both have heroic inspiration, and player A burns their heroic inspiration, player A can't turn to player B and say, hey, can I have your heroic inspiration? Player B can't give it to them. They could at the time that they gained it. If one didn't have one and one did have one but gained a heroic inspiration, let's say player B in this case, player B could then give it to player A when they gained it. But you just don't get to hand them off whenever you want to. And now let's get to the real point of the matter that I think is probably tripping up a lot of players out there. Heroic inspiration allows you to reroll any roll, but not any roll. Meaning, not any roll that happens at the table. You can't just go, reroll it. I'm using my heroic inspiration. Reroll that. Go ahead. That's not how it works. Why? Because it says at the end of the sentence, you must use the second roll. It is rolls you are making, not anybody else. It does allow for any of the rolls that you could make in the game, which is unbelievably great, but it doesn't allow, and players have been saying this on the channel, that you can use it for anything that happens in your presence. You can make a reroll, and that is not how heroic inspiration reads. That does not mean it's weak. It is, like I said, it's the A+ mechanic for rerolling. It's great, but it isn't godlike ability to just make anything happen at the table that you see. That is not how it works. There's another problem for a musician, and that is that there is a major character race that really won't benefit from it, even if you did have the mechanic of being able to hand it back to yourself. If you're playing a human, humans start with heroic inspiration at the beginning of the day. Now, humans are a major character race in D&D. Lots and lots and lots of people are picking humans and always have. So if you're playing a human, it doesn't make, and you're wanting this feat selection to benefit the character specifically, it means that you're only going to benefit from musician personally one more time in the day when you take a short rest, because after your long rest, you're already starting with a heroic inspiration. That's another huge, that alone disqualifies it as the best feat in the game. I need to keep reinforcing here. I'm not saying musician is bad by any means. I'm saying that there are people running around saying it is the best feat in the game. I had someone in the comments section after the tough video and tell me it's the best, full stop. And then began to throw all caps at me in the comments and telling me how great it was. And I needed to be paying attention to this and this and this with the all caps. And I'm like, what? It isn't the best feat. It's not. If humans aren't going to benefit very much from it, that's kind of a problem. Now, I will point out that we are still very early in this process, and humans, I'm sure, will, because of the nature of how the game has changed, the draw for humans is a little bit less because you are still getting an extra feat, but it's an origin feat. So there isn't quite the mechanical advantage, not quite, that it had before. So you're probably going to see a slight decrease in playing humans in D&D in this edition. But they're still going to be wildly popular. They're still I would have to say until we see lots and lots of play that I would think that humans are going to be the standard race pick. But that still does remain to be seen. I do predict that there will be a decrease in the popularity of playing humans. But like I said, I still think that they're going to be a standard. It's still really good. Having the ability to start with Lucky and Alert out of the gate is a pretty good character. Okay, so now let's talk about the obvious problem here. You can only have one inspiration at a time, but you can get inspiration through play. You can't get lucky points through play. If you are entertaining or heroic, you can get inspiration. And you can only have one at a time. Lucky has to be bought through the feat. So if I'm going to have luck points, I can have those and I can have inspiration through play. There's no guarantee, of course, that I'm going to be either heroic or entertaining. That's always possible. Or you could be playing at a table with a DM who's particularly stingy with inspiration. These are nebulous points, but we have to acknowledge the mechanic and therefore value gaining heroic inspiration accordingly. It is not rare. It is common. Conversely, lucky can only be gained through lucky. Now, there's other ways you can gain advantage, of course, but advantage on demand for any D20 test, not so much. All right, so let me put it to you this way. I hope this will help clarify and make this more concrete. If we had two separate parties, each a party of 4, and in one party, they all 4 took musician, the greatest origin feat in the game. Musician. They all take 4. All 4 of them take it. In the second party, all 4 take lucky. Now, which party is better off? So you see what I'm saying? It can't be the greatest feat in the game if you only need one person in the party to take it to gain the benefit for the rest of the party. It would be like having a party of everybody having Inspiring Leader. Inspiring Leader is a great feat. Wonderful feat. Really dumb idea to have 3 characters or 4 characters all having Inspiring Leader because it runs on a similar kind of mechanic. And then we can start really getting crazy with this and say that this party that all has lucky, let's say they're all humans. Now they all have 1 heroic inspiration a day and they all have lucky. Who's better off? The musician group or the lucky group? Lucky. And musician, if they were all human, that's even dumber. That's even worse. With lucky, you can only have one place to go, and that is up. You only benefit more. Musician, there's a logjam. It's useful if one person has it, maybe 2. While it's useful, while it's nice to know that you have those in the bank, you need to remember that you could still get that heroic inspiration just through being funny. And now let me make this really clear. If this couldn't be any more clear now. Let's just take one party, a party of 4. 3 of them take lucky, and 1 takes musician. Which of the party members are best off? Right, the lucky party. The lucky party members are clearly better off than the player who took musician. That doesn't mean that the player that took musician wasn't contributing. Of course they contributed. But are they actually any better off? No. They're much worse off than the people that took lucky. So I'm confused at how lucky could possibly be worse than musician once you start looking at the nitty-gritty details of this. So I hope this has been useful. It is always interesting when new editions come out to watch people the claims of what's broken and what's bad and blah, 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 blah. And I think because Lucky got nerfed, people just kind of really undervalued it. And I think that there's some misunderstanding, at least from some of the people in the comments, about the rules, about how musician works, and therefore they are overvaluing it. So I think Lucky, even though it got a bit of a nerf, and it did, it's still, of the origin feats, the best, one of the 2 best of the origin feats. I would definitely prefer it over musician, but musician is still very good, and you're not dumb for taking it by any means, but just bear in mind how I laid out that party structure and how they compare and what's valuable to you and what you are trying to achieve with your character. So don't let everybody tell you what is the best, or not even me. Try and figure out what you are trying to achieve with your character. That's the most important thing. All right. Well, that's all I've got. If you enjoyed the video, please like, please share, please subscribe. And if you're stuck and you don't know where to go, you can always search for a secret door. Until next time, I cast bless on all of you.